Was it 0 times? Was it 100 times? What matters is that the time that he gave into those dark impulses, those dark thoughts. How many times in your life do you have to make a critical mistake before you throw your entire life away? Once? Twice? I don't know. You can turn away from evil impulses your entire life 1,000 times. It just takes that one time that you give into it. And I think what you'll find in life is that the one thing that you give into a lot of times is the one thing that you thought you would never give into. The area that you thought that you were strongest in. Well, let me tell you why. Because he knows that if you eat of that fruit, you'll become a god like him. Now he appeals to power. You could do this, as intrusive as it is, if you just took control of yourself and you decide your own fate. Now you could become powerful. You have power over yourself, he says. Just as Kohlberger says, I have power over life and death. I can decide who lives and who dies. And these 4 people in this house are going to die because I decided that they do. Which means that when you're a little kid, from the day you're born, you have a monster inside of you. And don't, by the way, miss the fact that the monster is completely the opposite of what you are. The monster is huge. You're tiny. You have little baby teeth. It's got fangs. You have little nubby nails. He's got claws. You have smooth baby skin. They've got green scales or fur or something. It's completely the opposite of what you are, which tells you that the monster is the opposite of what you are, which is what terrifies us about it. But there's another realization that's even more powerful than that, which is that the monster is a thing that you could, I was about to say something stupid, something you could become, but it's not something that you could become. It's something that you probably are. It's in you. Again, I'm sorry, it's a bad thing that there is nobody around who was a monster, who had that capacity in them to deal with the monster, because you need a monster to deal with the monster. The problem is when you gaze long into that wickedness, you become that, and you become the monster that has to be dealt with. Yeah, so you can get so caught up in the thought that you just don't do anything. We refer to that as the paralysis of analysis, meaning that you're analyzing something so much that you're paralyzed by it. So now you're not going to do anything. Like you might have a problem in your life. Like for example, actually there's a really simple one. Anybody ever trying to figure out what you're going to eat? And you talk about it so much that you never actually end up eating anything? Yeah, they finally go, forget it. I'll just wait till dinner or something. Yeah, you get paralyzed by the analysis of it. But think about also the kinds of intrusive thoughts that people have. Anybody have any really dark, intrusive thoughts? First off, what is intrusive thought? Somebody.
Something that you think about but don't act out.
Something that you think about but don't act out. And is there I asked this question. Is there a certain kind of like category of those thoughts that people can have? Like what makes them intrusive? What's that? That's exactly what I was thinking of. In what context of pushing a person?
Just like right now, like I'll push.
You want to pay attention to this instead of his phone? Something like that, like his attention? Yeah. Or like you're standing on Highland and you're waiting for the bus and the cars are going by and there's someone standing in front of you. Let's say they're on their phone, they're not paying attention, you're just like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Yeah. Or worse yet, standing on a high place and you're thinking like, I could jump right now. But you don't want to because you're scared, but at the same time, like there's like a voice or something that's pulling you towards it. Yeah, intrusive thoughts are usually something dark. They're a thing and they're called intrusive because we don't want to focus on them. We don't want our minds to hyperfixate on them. And we try to turn our heads away from, no, I can't just push this guy in front of the car because, he's just standing here, but I could do it. But I'm not going to. I could do it. Or anything that would be like a dark behavior. So, intrusive thoughts, if you focus so long on intrusive thoughts, like you think about, for example, like a serial killer. Does a serial killer, what's the guy's name? Kohlberger, I think his name is. He's in the news right now. He murdered 4 University of Idaho students last year. Yeah, and he just pled guilty. So he's got 4 consecutive life sentences. But the guy it's an interesting case because a lot more is made out of him than actually is there. So he was apparently a very good student. I don't even know what that means. But people say, oh, he's very smart. Yeah, but there's no like video of him like talking. We don't have any examples of his writing, so I don't know. I do know that he was doing a PhD in criminology. And people will point to that and say, oh my God, he's the guy who became a killer, and he was studying criminology. Criminology is different from studying forensics. Criminology is why do people kill? Why do people commit crimes? Why do people participate in antisocial behavior? Forensics is you show up and somebody has participated in antisocial behavior by murdering some people. And so now you're at the crime scene and you're having to piece together how it happened. You're collecting evidence. That's forensics. He didn't study forensics. He studied criminology. And a big deal was made out of the fact that the guy was doing a PhD in criminology. But he only made it one semester. He wasn't there for very long. And he went to a school specifically because it didn't require what are called the GREs, which is like, if you want to go to university, you're supposed to take the SATs or the ACTs, like a real university. The GREs are kind of like that for graduate school. So he went to a university where he wouldn't have to take those. So he wasn't going to like a super high level university. There was a high level person who was at that university. But that guy, we can kind of trace back his life and figure it out and say, this guy thought about killing people. He didn't just like wake up one day and just be like, hey, 4 people, let me go kill them. In fact, we don't exactly even know why he picked those 4 people. He hasn't even really said it. The suggestion seems to be he was a vegan. That's all I have to say, right? Don't be a vegan. No. He was a vegan, and he used to go to a restaurant that had some vegan options. They think that might have been the case. And that one of the girls who was murdered 2 of the girls who were murdered worked there at that restaurant. So they think that maybe he came across them, became infatuated, followed them home, because they lived kind of far away. And he lived like 10 miles from where this happened. So the suggestion seems to be that he became infatuated with them, followed them home, and then planned out how to murder. But he knew a lot about them. He knew how many people lived in the house. He knew how many people were in the house. He knew the physical layout of the house. And how did he know all that? Because the house itself was 3 stories, and apparently it was really weirdly organized where you couldn't get to like one part of the house. Like for example, if you were in the back bedroom, you had to go through another bedroom to get to your own bedroom. The house was like a maze. It was an old house, and it was built on top of. So the question becomes, how did he know the inside of the maze, the inside of the house? Well, because the people inside the house posted on TikTok all the time. So he followed them on TikTok. And then he learned the layout of the house just by watching their videos on TikTok. Now, do you think that they realized that they were being stalked this way?
No.
And that took a lot of time. He had to come up with a profile. He had to friend them. He had to go through a lot of steps. Cell phone data suggests that he had pinged outside of their house on 12 separate occasions, I think it was, before the actual murder. Which means he was driving to the house and watching, stalking. The whole time, they had no idea they were being stalked. He was stalking them all of this time in person, online, and they had no idea. The point is, how many times do you think he had that intrusive thought about, I'm going to murder somebody?
Like a lot.
Yeah, probably a lot of times, man. And it only would have taken like once or two. I mean, by the way, I wonder how many times he had that thought where he said, I'm not going to, no, dude, you can't do that. That doesn't make any sense. And then turn his mind away from it. Who knows? Was it 0 times? Was it 100 times? What matters is that the time that he gave into those dark impulses, those dark thoughts. It's like how many things in your life, how many times in your life do you have to make a critical mistake before you throw your entire life away? Once? Twice? I don't know. You can turn away from evil impulses your entire life 1,000 times. It just takes that one time that you give into it. And I think what you'll find in life is that the one thing that you give into a lot of times is the one thing that you thought you would never give into. The area that you thought that you were strongest in. I, clutch our pearls, I would never steal something. Get ready, because you're about to be tempted. I would never cheat on my spouse. Very much so. Yeah, but you cheat in your English class. Same behavior, betraying a person and lying. Oh, but it's different. You convince yourself of that. But all of that behavior follows, it flows. Nothing happens in a vacuum. It's always that you think about it, you see it, and then you dwell on it. I mean, you guys are familiar with the story of Adam and Eve? That's the whole story of the Garden of Eden. You know, it's like, I think when someone say like, I'm not religious, you only read, so does that mean you only read non-religious books if you're an atheist? Come on, you read all kinds of books, especially books that Western civilization is founded on. The whole story begins that God creates this dude, Adam, and he's standing in this garden, he's got all the animals, he's got everything that's perfect around him. And he's told, you can have anything you want here, but just don't eat of that one tree, that one right there. Is there any better way to introduce an intrusive thought to someone's mind than to say you can do anything you want except for that? It's like right now, clear your mind. Or think about anything in the world except for a red apple. Don't think about a red apple, but anything else is fine. You're going to start thinking about red apples. So he's told you can have any fruit you want except for that one. Okay. So then he gets, after a while, he's lonely. He asks for a mate. So God gives him Eve. So he's got Adam and Eve. And then one day, and by the way, don't miss that. He specifically asks for a mate. And then the story goes that one day she's walking around the garden and she encounters a serpent. And the serpent is like, hey, so you can eat of any fruit you want except for that one, right? I'm sorry. You can eat of any fruit you want, right? And she said, no. I can eat of any fruit except for that one. Notice the lie. It's a lie of omission. He says you can eat of any fruit, right? No. It's like when you say like, well, I'm not lying. I'm just not giving you all the information. You're lying. You're doing it to manipulate. You're doing it because you want to hide the truth. You're lying. But I just don't think they should know you're lying. So he says, you can have any fruit, huh? No, any fruit except for that one. And then the next thing, did he really say that though? Did God really say that? Yes, but now second part, questioning it. First part, lying by omission. Secondly, you don't believe that, do you? Third one, well, let me tell you why. Because he knows that if you eat of that fruit, you'll become a god like him. Now he appeals to power. You could do this, as intrusive as it is, if you just took control of yourself and you decide your own fate. Now you could become powerful. You have power over yourself, he says. Just as Kohlberger says, I have power over life and death. I can decide who lives and who dies. And these 4 people in this house are going to die because I decided that they do. It's all the same spirit. It's a spirit that focuses on the dark. It's a spirit that focuses on the corrupt and the evil. And yet, if I asked you, just show of hands, don't raise your hands, but if I were to ask you, how many of us have those spirits inside of us, the corrupt and the evil and the dark? Most of us, probably. Not me. Again, clutching my pearls. Not me. I would never kill 4 people. I hope not. But I don't know. Would you lie by omission? That's corrupting the truth. And that's evil. That's dark. Would you lie by saying the person never said something that they said? By taking truth and corrupting their words? Would you do that? Would you appeal to a person's vanity, their darkness and their evil, and feed into their evil and their darkness? What I would suggest to you is that all of us have the capacity for this. Because all of us have something inside of us that's a monster. When you're a little kid, 5 years old, let's say, and you're going to sleep at night, and it's dark, and you're terrified, we're afraid. Because we look over at the closet, and the closet door is open just a little bit. And when you're 5 years old, what's inside that closet? A cuckoo, yeah, a monster. Good, I'm glad no one said my uncle. Yeah, it's there's always one. Yeah, cuckoo, you have a monster inside that closet. Now, here's the trick. What does a monster look like?
Like ugly.
Ugly. So it looks like my math.
Like it could eat you.
Like it could eat me. How could it eat me? Was it used to eat me? Wow. Yeah. Teeth, yes? Sharp teeth.
Yeah, sharp.
That can eat me. And what is it used to grab you with? Yeah. What's its fur look like? Oh, I'm sorry. What's its skin look like? Like what? Any color. Like green. Kind of like this. Yeah. And is it? And it wouldn't be so scary, except it's only this big, right? How big is it? It's huge. Now, here's the trick. You've got like this big, massive, sharp-toothed, sharp-clawed, snarling, slobbering, green giant in your closet. Have you ever seen that before in real life? So here's the trick. So where does that monster come from? From you. Which means every little kid wandering around has a monster inside of them. Because we project out into the world, not the things that are actually there, but the things that are inside of us. Because none of us sees the world the way that the world really is. We see that world the way that we are. And so when you stare out into the world, what do you see? Do you see anger, hatred, frustration? Do you see kindness, rainbows, and love? Whatever you see out in the world is not so much in the world as it is inside of yourself. Which means that when you're a little kid, from the day you're born, you have a monster inside of you. And don't, by the way, miss the fact that the monster is completely the opposite of what you are. The monster is huge. You're tiny. You have little baby teeth. It's got fangs. You have little nubby nails. He's got claws. You have smooth baby skin. They've got green scales or fur or something. It's completely the opposite of what you are, which tells you that the monster is the opposite of what you are, which is what terrifies us about it. But there's another realization that's even more powerful than that, which is that the monster is a thing that you could, I was about to say something stupid, something you could become, but it's not something that you could become. It's something that you probably are. It's in you. So when I ask that question, could you have murdered 4 people in Idaho? Maybe not. Maybe not. But could you have been a concentration camp guard if you lived in Nazi Germany? Could you have been a Gulag guard if you lived in Soviet Russia? And if your immediate answer to that is no, let me clutch my pearls. No, I would never. A lot of people chose to do that, man. And it isn't because they were terrible, horrible, wicked people. It's because they had the capacity to be horrible and terrible and wicked people. What I suggest to you is that you all have the capacity to be that person. And that's not a bad thing. It's good. If someone comes through that door and starts shooting, I hope you guys have a monster inside of you. That's why I call this the martyr's row, by the way. Because if someone comes in there, we know who goes first. We appreciate your sacrifice. But I hope that, and anytime there's evil, did you guys see the yesterday? The guy over in New York was walking through and went into a high-rise and killed 5 people, was it? Yeah, it's a good thing that, again, I'm sorry, it's a bad thing that there was nobody around who was a monster, who had that capacity in them to deal with the monster, because you need a monster to deal with the monster. The problem is when you gaze long into that wickedness, you become that, and you become the monster that has to be dealt with. Yeah. Oh, staring into the abyss? To be aware of, because you don't want to become infatuated with it. Just similarly, you don't want to gaze long into just, nope, everything's perfect, everything's fine, because all the evil is happening out here. And you are in danger of it, because that is the secondary lesson, by the way, that we can learn from that story of Adam and Eve. We have a perfect garden, perfect balance, perfect everything, except the serpent, because there's a serpent in the garden. No matter how, if any of you guys who want to become parents someday, no matter how perfect of a household you build for your kids, no matter how much you try to protect them, there are serpents in the garden. You can't keep them out. One of the reasons I talk to you, and this will make more sense as the year goes on, but one of the reasons I talk to you guys the way that I talk to you is because I want you to be aware that there are serpents in the garden. You're going to encounter ideas in this classroom that you're not going to encounter anywhere else, because in most other places we're really worried about offending you and bothering you and upsetting you and just hurting your feelings. This is not a safe space, man. This is the place to encounter ideas. And I don't know any way to talk to you guys except as people who are basically adults who are going out into the world and are going to have to deal with the real world soon. We can shelter you and protect you and be like, everything's fine, but it's not fine. Everything is not okay. things will not turn out to be just fine. All is not well. There are serpents in the garden. And the way that you learn how to deal with the serpents is by dealing with them, not by pretending they don't exist. The way that you deal with the monster inside of you is to recognize that it's there so that you don't give into it. And then overcoming that evil part of yourself to become, which we'll talk about later, good. So, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Dope. Happy Tuesday.